Howdy folks, Jambareeqi here, and I've just been to see Paddington 2. In this film, Paddington wants to give his Aunt Lucy a very special present for her 100th birthday, because she's done so much for him. One thing that Paddington knows about his Aunt Lucy is that she really wants to see London. Luckily, Paddington finds a London pop-up book being sold in an antique store, but it's very expensive. He works as a window cleaner, and after a while he gets very close to affording the pop-up book, and at night time he goes to look at the pop-up book in the store. But suddenly he notices that someone is breaking into the store, and they steal the pop-up book. The police arrive and assume that Paddington is the one that broke into the store and stole the pop-up book. After a trial, Paddington is sent to jail. It turns out that a famous actor called Phoenix Buchanan, played by Hugh Grant, stole the pop-up book. It's up to Paddington's family, the Browns, to clear Paddington's name and find evidence that Phoenix was the one responsible for the crime. Why? Well, because it's got some clues to some treasure. Can I say, in a year of the Emoji Movie and the Tom and Jerry Willy Wonka crossover, it's really good to see an animated movie for kids that's sincere, well-meaning, and not trying to sell something to the audience. I really liked the first Paddington movie. Sure, it was rough around the edges. The characters' personality flaws were a tad on the nose, the cultural misunderstandings gags were hit or miss, plus the movie felt eerily similar to films like Elf and Bean, which I found to be rather distracting and made the movie somewhat predictable at points. But the film was also very visually inventive, giving us lots of really clever shots. There were many hilarious moments that made me laugh out loud too. Plus, the whole film is bursting with so much heart. It's a really affectionate and sweet movie. And while I was at first uncertain how you can make a movie about Paddington Bear going to the jail, the movie surprised me because it turns out you can do something with this premise. It's quite adorable and charming seeing Paddington win over these hardened criminals and help them to see their own talents and goodness. There were places I was expecting this film to go based on the premise, but luckily for the most part, it wasn't that predictable. Because Paddington is just so sweet, so well-meaning and so polite, I totally buy that he could help criminals to be better people and get along with each other in the prison. I can totally see that. This bear is just so nice. Even though the film shows that the prisoners are being charmed by Paddington, it doesn't forget that these are criminals. And at the end of the day, we can't fully trust them. And they are tested towards the end of the film, and that definitely gives these supporting characters a lot of dimension. Meanwhile, the Browns are working so damn hard to clear Paddington's name. I love seeing them going to extra lengths to investigate what was really happening and doing their best to free Paddington from jail. It's just great to see a film that celebrates not only being a good, decent person, but welcoming others into your family even if they're not related. The film is just so great at encouraging the idea that we should be looking out for each other, we should be helping each other. And towards the end of the movie, Mr. Brown makes this fantastic speech that actually got me a little teary-eyed. Because the heart of the film is Paddington. I know that's obvious because the film is named after him, but it really is. This is a character who has brought people together. This is a character who has helped people to see that they can redeem themselves. However, I did have a problem with the film's villain, Phoenix. While he can be fun and a good way of making kids in the audience laugh, he's not exactly threatening or intimidating. Sure, you could argue, well, doesn't that make him a good comedic villain? Sure, totally, but whenever the movie tries to create a sense of tension or excitement, it's kind of watered down by the fact that the bad guy is played by Hugh Grant chewing the scenery. It just doesn't really work. This villain is definitely a downgrade from the villainess in the first movie played by Nicole Kidman. Nicole Kidman's character was very menacing but also effectively manipulative. We found her to be quite creepy and a legitimate threat. This is a character who is personally responsible for Paddington being sent to jail, and I just don't hate him enough, and I should. But because he's just so silly and harmless, I'm not that angry, and I feel as if that I should be, because this is a big deal, as I really love the character of Paddington and I don't want him to be sent to jail. I appreciate that Hugh Grant is trying something different than usual, considering that he's often just the romantic comedy lead in movies. He's only very rarely strayed from that kind of character. And I do like that the movie showcases his versatility because his character does often have to change into different disguises. But it just doesn't work for me. This is a character that's going to be obviously compared to the brilliant villainess in the first movie, and he won't hold up. To conclude, I actually thought that Paddington 2 was better than the first movie. Yeah, the villain is a bit underwhelming, but this is still a very charming, enjoyable, funny, and entertaining film with so much heart. If you enjoyed the first Paddington movie, then I'm quite certain you're going to really like this sequel. I've been Jambareeqi and I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, then feel free to subscribe to my channel because I make a lot of videos quite like this one. Also, please consider supporting me on my Patreon in return for rewards. It would be greatly appreciated if you could. Thank you. Cheerio, folks.